America, I want to warn you that this, I believe, is the summer of revolution. Things are going to get worse, and I believe May is going to play a huge role, as will September. Oh, did I say something that I shouldn't have, socialist and communist? Yes, we're listening, and we're reading, and sometimes right over your shoulder, and you don't know it. The socialists and leftists continued the fun today with the Fight Back USA National Teach-In. 269 campuses across the country participated. Ivy League schools like Yale, Harvard, Brown, Dartmouth were all involved. Some high schools. The organizer at William Patterson University in New Jersey said, like in Wisconsin and Ohio, the time has come in New Jersey for students and youth and teachers and firefighters and all public employee unions to unite and take back the State House. We must fight against the assault on the public good. Remember, these are socialists and communists saying that you need to gather together and fight back. If you couldn't be there to experience the excitement in the Teach-In, Fight Back USA offered a live stream of special national Teach-In on fighting austerity, debt, and corporate greed. It was billed as a 60s-style Teach-In meets the digital age in live stream webcast. And who doesn't want to get back to the 60s styles of radicalism? You know, the protests, the bombs, the communists. And speaking of commies, the stars of the Teach-In, well, of course, everybody's favorite grandma, Frances Fox Piven. Man, she gets around. Cornel West and special guest Richard Trumka. Now, one of the resources featured on the Fight Back Teach-In website, and I love this, was the Tree of Corporate Destruction. It's an original design created for Frances Fox Piven. Isn't it nice? Darn those corporations, always hiring people and paying their salaries and benefits. Evil. She talked about the inspiration for this tree during today's special Teach-In. Watch.
We got the idea of the tree from this guy on TV. I can't remember his name.
Yeah.
But, you know, he got the tree wrong. He always says that he does his research in the wee hours of the morning all by himself.
No, I don't.
We don't do our research in the wee hours of the morning all by ourselves. We draw on lots of our colleagues, scholars, experts, researchers, all over the country, all over the world.
Oh, she's telling the truth. Yes, she is. But look at this. She certainly can't be talking about yours truly, because if you look at her tree, you know, that all of the worldwide experts help her put together, it shows a lot of corporations that we've exposed on this show. They already pay people to monitor this show. They watch it all the time. Like 86 people just in Media Matters are monitoring it right now. And they still screw it up. I don't blindly stand with corporations. A lot of these. Goldman Sachs, I think it's dirty. GE, BP, yeah. I stand with the free market. As long as a corporation is honest and clean and playing by the rules. Not special rules, the rules. That's happening. Damn right I stand with them. The bad ones, throw them in jail. Shut them down. Here's my tree. I don't know if you notice anything. That's weird, huh? I would put a lot of these people in jail. I'd put a lot of these people in jail, too. These people are just dirty. These people are plotting against the U.S. That's called treason. I would ask you... France, may I call you France? If I were Barbara Walters, what kind of tree would you be? I want to show you this, because I think it answers what kind of tree she would be. Here's a picture of Frances Fox Piven. That's her right there. Now, this was a woman whose life was inspired by the Watts riots, and her inspiration was to create more of them, not less. You may not have seen this photo before. It was taken in 1968 when she was teaching at Columbia University. She's shown here being pulled up by a student named Tom Hayden. Now, who's Tom Hayden? Tom Hayden is the guy who founded Students for a Democratic Society in 1961. He then went on to marry the sweet and lovable Jane Fonda. He was elected to California's State Assembly and State Senate, and the author of this recent article in The Nation And he called another person that we have, oh my gosh, we've been talking about recently, that we just kind of stumbled onto. It's amazing how they have these colleagues all over the world, isn't it? Samantha Power goes to war. He writes, over a long conversation with Power back in December of '03, I was struck by the generational factor in her thinking. If she had experienced Vietnam in her early 20s, I felt she would have joined the radical left, suspicious always of American power. He continues, she began to see war as an instrument to achieving her liberal, even radical values. Well, now wait a minute. She's the one that's whispering in the president's ear about who we should support in the Middle East. Forget about war for oil, war for radical values. Gee, I wonder which radical value he could be talking about. I doubt it's the destruction of capitalism, because that would be crazy. So what are all these radicals teaching at the teach-in today? What are the resources that they're saying to your kid, you need to tap in and learn? You know, they're sending them, American Federation of Teachers, Farm Labor Organization, Home Defenders League, Jobs with Justice. You know, it's weird. A lot of these have something in common. It really is getting boring, isn't it? I mean, it's like the same. It's like if you watched, I don't know, Columbo or something, and the same guy was killing everybody at the end of each episode. It's kind of like, now in the meetings in the morning, we're like, let me guess, Soros did it. It's getting boring. Guys, spice it up a little bit. You almost had us with the Samantha Power, Susan Power thing. That was good. And then it ended in Soros again. Oh, well, we'll see what you do tomorrow. I want to make this very clear. I want to just go over a few completely unrelated, isolated, noticeable moments, if I may. The president is now being called a flip-flopper on his Gitmo decision, and I think that's just wrong. Sure, it's interesting. Yes. Remember when he came blazing into the office? He told us how evil Gitmo was, and it had to be shut down, remember? Trying the suspects at Gitmo would only inflame the Islamic world. That was important. Can't do it at Gitmo. Inflame the Islamic world. That's why you had to have them tried and sent right here into the U.S. justice system, right here in New York, he said, to showcase how fair and just we are and not inflame the Islamic world. Again, I just want to throw out these totally disconnected, noticeable moments. Our president, who is surrounded by people who are radical, one, Samantha Power, who I just told you was described as someone who sees war as an instrument to achieving her liberal, even radical values. She's the one whispering, let's go to Libya. He's also surrounded by other people who would love nothing better than to take down the little Satan, Israel, and the great Satan, us, as well. For that matter, people like Rashid Khalidi, a friend of Obama's from the University of Chicago, an anti-Israel extremist who was a PLO advisor to Yasser Arafat. He is, let's say, an acquaintance of Bill Ayers. And Bernardine Dohrn, the 60s and 70s terrorist. And you know what? What's weird is they're going on the Love Boat of Revolution to the Gaza Strip in May. The last flotilla had ties to the Muslim Brotherhood, who are now, by the way, starting a modesty police force in Egypt so some of the girls can be checked to make sure that they're still virgins. Isn't that great? Now, our president encouraged the youth to rise up in revolt all across the Middle East, even here. Yet, he did nothing to help the Iranian people with their revolt against Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. Then, the president went into Libya to help and protect, because Power said, we've got to do it. Yeah. And then they even armed the rebels with ties to Al-Qaeda, and some with ties to Gitmo, who were directly fighting against our troops in Iraq or Afghanistan. And he's also backing the extremist Muslim president in the Ivory Coast, who last weekend had 1,000 people killed. So I just find it interesting. Those are just all noticeable events, too, completely disconnected and unrelated, and has nothing to do with anything else in the world. Just a noticeable moment that as we have launched a third war against a Muslim nation, further inflaming the radicals, the president has decided that now it's okay to tie and try the Muslims at Gitmo something that he said we couldn't do because it would inflame the Islamic world. But don't worry, none of those things are connected. Back in a minute. Man, there's just some weird, unrelated timing that's going on in the world. I want to take you to Terry Jones, you know, the despicable pastor who, in a desperate cry for attention at best, please take his picture off, don't give it to him, burned the Quran a couple of weeks ago, inflaming Islam in the greater Middle East where our troops are. Now, I'm puzzled by this timing as well. He threatened this in September, and then he waits until now. And for an encore, he wants to put the Prophet Muhammad on trial. Shh, don't tell Terry, but he's been dead for almost 1,400 years. It won't be a fair trial because he can't be provided an attorney. He can't afford one. He's dead. Don't tell Terry. Gives me the opportunity to ask Harry Reid, who is still looking into this guy, if he looked into the 5 Christians who were supposedly having a trial that started today or yesterday in Iran for blasphemy. According to Christian Solidarity Worldwide, their trial has been postponed until April 12th. They've already served 1 year in prison for crimes against the Islamic order. Their crimes? They had house churches. They conducted church at their house. Fortunately, there hasn't been mass Christian killings and uprisings as a result. But the contrast should be a clue to the clueless in Washington on who we should be focusing our attention on. Back in a minute. In late January, the world called me crazy for this. You cannot deny that it's happening now. They're also going to call me crazy for saying that Israel is being set up. It is true. Join me for a special 1-hour broadcast on Friday you can't afford to miss.